The flashing lights of O'Hare Airport cut through the December night. A young superstar stumbles through the terminal, clutching his chest, his entourage frozen in disbelief. Within minutes, one of the brightest rising stars in American music would collapse, convulsing on the floor as chaos erupted around him. The tragedy wasn't random. It was the result of secrets carried across state lines, and choices that spiraled far beyond control. On December 8, 2019 in Chicago, Illinois, Jared Anthony Higgins, better known to the world as Juice WRLD, died suddenly at just 21 years old. A rapper, singer, and songwriter, he had captured the hearts of millions with his emotional lyrics and raw honesty. But behind the fame and adoration, there was a storm: drugs, paranoia, and hidden truths that came crashing into the public eye that morning. What happened inside O'Hare wasn't just the story of a celebrity gone too soon, it was the unraveling of a dangerous lifestyle, one that raised chilling questions about the pressures of fame and the choices that haunt even the most gifted artists. Jared Higgins wasn't born a superstar. He grew up in Chicago's south suburbs, raised by his mother after his parents split. She was strict, religious, and protective, steering him away from explicit music, but Jared found his way to it anyway. By the time he was a teenager, he was already pouring his feelings into songs recorded on his phone. Friends described him as goofy, kind, and endlessly creative. He wasn't the type to pick fights or chase clout. Instead, he lost himself in music, in video games, and in a vivid imagination that let him dream bigger than the streets around him. When his song Lucid Dreams exploded on SoundCloud, it felt like a Cinderella story. Suddenly, the quiet kid was headlining festivals, racking up billions of streams, and becoming the voice of a generation that knew heartbreak too well. But behind the stage lights, Juice WRLD carried another reality. He was candid about his struggles: painkillers, lean pills. In interviews, he almost shrugged it off, turning his confessions into the same kind of poetry that filled his lyrics. To his fans, it made him authentic. To those close to him, it was terrifying. In the days leading to December 8th, Juice WRLD had wrapped up his 21st birthday celebrations. He was flying back to Chicago from Los Angeles on a private jet. But this wasn't just a routine trip. Hidden aboard that flight was a cargo that would shift the night into tragedy: vacuum-sealed bags of marijuana, bottles of codeine cough syrup, and firearms. The people around him noticed his nervous energy. He had everything to lose: his career was at its peak, his fan base growing, his future limitless. But that night, instead of basking in his success, Juice WRLD was heading straight into a collision course. It was early morning, Chicago cold biting at the runway, when the private jet touched down at O'Hare. Federal agents were already waiting, tipped off about what was on board. Inside the plane, tension spread quickly. Passengers whispered. Juice WRLD looked pale, uneasy. When the doors opened, officers and dogs swarmed. The group froze. And then, panic. Witnesses later said Juice WRLD swallowed several powerful Percocet pills in a desperate attempt to hide them from the authorities. Within minutes, his body betrayed him. He staggered, then collapsed, convulsing violently on the floor of the terminal. His girlfriend cried out. His crew shouted for help. Paramedics rushed in, administering Narcan in hopes of reversing the overdose. But the damage was done. At 3:14 a.m. at Advocate Christ Medical Center, Jared Higgins was pronounced dead. He was 21 years old. The search that followed revealed the truth of what that plane carried: 70 pounds of marijuana packed into suitcases, bottles of prescription codeine cough syrup, and 3 firearms, 2 of them registered, 1 not. The DEA and Chicago police immediately opened an investigation. Who was the drugs for? Why was Juice WRLD, a millionaire artist with access to everything, moving narcotics across state lines? Was it personal use, or something darker? The public reeled. Fans flooded social media with grief, disbelief, and anger. Some blamed the system. Others blamed the industry. And some pointed the finger at those around Juice WRLD, wondering who was truly responsible for the pressures that led him down such a path. Early reports swirled with theories. Some claimed the drugs weren't his, that he was covering for others. Others insisted law enforcement exaggerated the bust to send a message. Online forums erupted with speculation. Was he set up? Did someone in his circle betray him? Conflicting witness testimonies only deepened the fog. A pilot had allegedly alerted authorities about the weapons. Friends claimed Juice WRLD wasn't a trafficker, just a user in over his head. But the sheer volume of what was found on board, dozens of pounds of cannabis, made the personal use defense almost impossible to believe. The autopsy delivered the chilling truth. The Cook County medical examiner confirmed his death was caused by oxycodone and codeine toxicity. In other words, Juice WRLD's final act wasn't murder, wasn't sabotage, wasn't some mysterious conspiracy. It was an overdose, brought on by his decision to ingest those pills that morning. But this turning point only raised more questions than answers. Why was he traveling with so much contraband? Who brought the weapons? And was Juice WRLD just another casualty of a culture that glamorizes self-destruction? Or was there something deeper lurking in the shadows of his career? Today the official case is closed. No murder investigation, no unresolved criminal conspiracy. His death is ruled an accidental overdose. Yet the aftermath continues to ripple. His music lives on, posthumous albums climbing charts, his voice haunting listeners who can't help but hear his lyrics differently now. For some, the story ends here. A tragic overdose, another young star gone too soon. But for others, this is only the beginning of a bigger mystery, about the people he surrounded himself with, the choices made in those final hours, and the unanswered question of why such a massive cache of drugs was on that jet in the first place. Jared Higgins once rapped, "What's the 27 club? We ain't making it past 21. It sounded like a lyric at the time. Today it feels like a prophecy fulfilled. His death wasn't just about one night, it was about a system of fame, addiction, and secrecy that still hides truths we may never fully uncover. So what do you think really happened aboard that jet? Was Juice WRLD just another victim of his own demons, or was he protecting someone, or something, bigger than himself? December 2nd, 1998. A baby boy is born in Chicago. No one in that delivery room could have imagined the prophecy he would write in his music just 2 decades later. By 2018, that same boy, Jared Anthony Higgins, would be standing on stage in front of thousands, chanting lyrics that would foreshadow his own death. And yet, behind every viral hit, behind every packed stadium, was a child carrying wounds that never fully healed. This is the story of how Juice WRLD became the voice of a generation. How a quiet, creative kid from Chicago's south suburbs climbed from SoundCloud to superstardom in just a few years, and how the pressures of fame, love, and self-medication slowly consumed him. Jared Higgins grew up in a single-parent home. His parents divorced when he was just 3, and his mother raised him and his older brother on her own. She was protective, deeply religious, and intent on keeping her children away from the dangerous influences of the outside world. That meant no explicit rap music, no violent video games. But rules only work so well when a child's imagination is restless. At 4 years old, Jared discovered the piano. Later he taught himself guitar and drums. By middle school he was recording rough tracks on his phone and sharing them with friends. Teachers remembered him as shy but bright. Friends said he was playful, goofy, but also deeply sensitive. He felt things intensely. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every little victory, it all went straight into his lyrics. By 2015, at just 16, Jared uploaded his first tracks to SoundCloud under the name Juice the Kid, inspired by rapper Tupac in the movie Juice. His voice was raw, his rhymes unpolished, but there was something magnetic about him. He soon switched his name to Juice WRLD, saying it represented taking over the world, seizing everything. Then came 2017. He uploaded Lucid Dreams, a haunting song about heartbreak that mixed rap with a hypnotic sample of Sting's Shape of My Heart. Within months it blew up. First SoundCloud, then YouTube, then Billboard. Suddenly, Jared Higgins wasn't just another Chicago teen with a dream. He was Juice WRLD, the next big thing in hip-hop. But with fame came speed. Tours, interviews, endless studio hours. At just 19 he signed a $3 million record deal. Fans hailed him as the voice of Gen Z heartbreak, the artist who made pain poetic. But the same emotions that fueled his art also fueled his vices. By 2018 Juice WRLD was everywhere. Festivals, late-night TV, collaborations with Future and Travis Scott. He had a sprawling fanbase hanging on every lyric, streaming his songs billions of times. But what most people didn't see were the bottles of lean, the Percocet pills, the codeine cough syrup quietly accompanying him on the road. In interviews he openly admitted he was addicted. But it wasn't confessional in the way most addicts speak. It was casual, almost like a warning wrapped in a shrug. He told fans he wanted to quit, but not yet. Because drugs, he said, unlocked his creativity, numbed the pain, and let him escape the pressure of sudden fame. The duality of his life was staggering. On stage, Juice WRLD was electric, commanding tens of thousands of screaming fans. Off stage, he was a 20-year-old kid, scared, in love, and drowning his nerves in chemicals. In the middle of this whirlwind, Juice WRLD found love. He began dating ally Lottie, an Instagram influencer who quickly became one of the closest people in his orbit. Their relationship was fast, intense, and public. Fans adored them as a couple, but insiders worried. Together they were inseparable, but the drugs followed them everywhere. His lyrics became confessions. "I take prescriptions to make me feel A-okay. I'm running out of patience." Fans thought it was just art. But the truth is, he was documenting his reality in plain sight. Those closest to him would later say Jared wanted help. He even promised Ally he'd quit pills by his 21st birthday. But promises are fragile when fame and addiction collide. In 2019, just months before his death, Juice WRLD skyrocketed to the top again with his album Death Race for Love, debuting at #1. He seemed unstoppable. But the controversies began to swirl: lawsuits over music samples, industry pressures, and whispers about his growing dependency. To fans, the success meant Juice WRLD had finally made it. To his inner circle, it was a dangerous illusion. The bigger he got, the more he leaned into substances. And the more he leaned into substances, the more paranoid and erratic his behavior became. December 2, 2019. Juice WRLD's 21st birthday. He celebrated with friends in Los Angeles, a week before his flight back to Chicago. Witnesses say he was happy, laughing, talking about the future. Music videos, tours, and new songs. But he was also still using. The promise to quit never came. 6 days later, the early morning chaos at O'Hare would rip everything away. Part 2 of Juice WRLD's story isn't about his death, it's about the life he lived before it. The sensitive boy from Chicago who turned pain into poetry. The artist who built a world of sound out of heartbreak. And the young man whose demons grew alongside his fame. But just as his music soared, so did the controversies, conspiracies, and rumors that now haunt his legacy. He once sang, "What's the 27 Club? We ain't making it past 21. For Juice WRLD, those words were no metaphor. They were a countdown. And when it hit 0, it left the world asking, was his death simply the end of an addict's story, or the start of a conspiracy too big to ignore? The controversies and conspiracies surrounding Juice WRLD's final hours at O'Hare remains an unsolved mystery. Backhand index pointing right. Do you believe Juice WRLD's music was a cry for help we all missed? Or was it his way of preparing fans for an ending he already saw coming?